Hello, my name is Luke Mardigian, and you are listening to Be Insured, where we talk about business, leadership, and insurance. That way, on your worst day, when you need it the most, you will be insured. When Shane Hagedorn approached me to be a sponsor for their upcoming movie, I was excited to say yes. For those of you who don't know Shane, he is a writer, producer, actor, and award-winning filmmaker behind movies like Wild Faith, which I just watched a few months ago, and Ashes of Eden, and many others. I'm very excited to have him on the show today, talk about his latest movie, Lost Heart, and the strategy behind telling really, really good stories. Shane, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, good morning to your listening audience. Thanks, and I'm happy to be here talking with you.
And as always, I'm joined by my awesome co-host,
Eric Gestring, the Mardigian Agency.
Shane, before we jump in, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about you and your background in filmmaking?
Sure, I love to talk about myself.
Yeah.
I've been in it for probably 20 years now. Ever since I was probably right around 26, I was pursuing a career in law enforcement because of having a lot of years as a security manager, and excuse me, and I was going towards my criminal justice degree, and I had to take one elective class, and man, there was this intro to acting class, and I always wanted to. This was the summer of, of just doing it and living without regrets, and I took that one class, and boy, it just really expanded on all these ideas that I've had for my life and wanted to do, just didn't know it was possible. And sure enough, shortly after that, I rethought my career path and went towards acting and filmmaking, and it was a process getting into all that. But yeah, it's been 20 years. We've made a lot of great films. I've made a lot of great relationships, both in front of the camera and behind the camera, and also partnered with businesses such as yours and others in our community to help support the arts and filmmaking and getting great stories out there for the world.
That's awesome. So, Shane, this is Eric. I'd love to talk about your latest movie, Lost Heart. Can you tell us what it is about and your role in the project was? What was that?
For sure, and I'll tell you, Lost Heart is one of my favorite films so far. It's just a wonderful, rich, quirky comedy shot in Michigan. I was a co-producer on it and acted in it. Director was Jesse Lowe. Fantastic job.
Yeah.
Stars Melissa Anschutz, Victoria Jackson from Saturday Night Live, Don Mose from Happy Days. Yeah. And we actually shot it in the Whitehall in Muskegon area. Beautiful part of Michigan.
It is.
And it's about this mega Nashville country music star, Hannah Sweet, who gets some news that her estranged father has passed, and she goes up for the funeral. She's been estranged from him for many years due to some alcoholism in the family. And she comes back to learn that her father had changed his course after her leaving, and now she's getting to know this new man that the town loved, and so she's wrestling with some of these new things in her life.
I love a good father-child story. I think that speaks to all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
On so many levels. Mm-hmm. So, one of the I was actually had the opportunity to be on set for Lost Heart, and it was just a beautiful setting. I mean, you couldn't have picked a better spot and a better time of year in Michigan to shoot a film.
Yeah.
And some of the previews that I've seen, the cinematography is just gorgeous, and Jesse is a phenomenal director.
Yeah. It and all of these films are built by so many artists and craftspeople, mainly from Michigan. It takes all of us to be able to do that, from every crew member to assistant camera to the extras that bring in the background, and it's an amazing feat just to get one financed, to get one filmed, and then to finally get it distributed.
Yeah.
Each one of those is a marathon, and we're happy to shoulder a lot of that work to get them to where they are now.
Yeah, it's just from what I saw, that I think I was out there for 2 or 3 hours. I mean, it's just incredible. And how many days did you shoot that film over? Because with the budget that you had and kind of doing things as efficiently as you can, am I right that you kind of you shot an entire film over a pretty short period of time?
Yeah, traditionally most films easy 30 days. We packed it into about 15 days.
Wow.
And right, there's a lot of planning. There's not a lot of room for error time wise. So we have to be as efficient as possible, plan our shots, get everything around and in the office and all these things. So many moving parts, and we just have so many great people on our team making it happen. The whole CDI tribe for sure.
Yeah, no, and you definitely are a tribe, that's for sure. Can you give us some insight? One of the things that I'm always fascinated with your life is the fact that you are a normal human being. You walk around, you shop at grocery stores that we all shop at. You live here in Michigan, but you make films, like legit internationally distributed films. And so what does this process look like for you in your role? Because I know you've written screenplays, you also do acting, you do the producing. From all those aspects, how do you find the time to do those things? And how do you balance all that?
I'm still finding that out, and I think I'll hit a sweet spot somewhere. But right now, it's just all hands on deck all the time. And that talented crew and group of people that I talked about on these projects extends to your friends and family. It's such an overlap of what is required for their assistance to me to get these things done. If I didn't have somebody, let my dogs out on a certain day because I won't be home, to having my wife picking up, for me around the house while I'm not there. All these things, and they're attributed to my success is the helpful hands and loving hearts of my friends and family. And then now you've got a cast and crew that are just as happy to, sacrifice time and put everything into it. So that's how these things get made, out of total passion and commitment and execution.
And that's so beautiful. And I haven't heard you say that. That's the first time I've ever heard you share that, Shane. So thank you. That really moves me. With that being said, we're shooting this show at the end of 2020. We've had a full year of COVID-19 pandemic. Has that presented new obstacles to filmmaking?
Oh yeah, for sure. This last project that we just wrapped, dark comedy I was fortunate enough to direct and co-produce, called Best Years Gone. We had halted production. We were supposed to start in the spring, and COVID hit, and we set it back 3 different times till finally, it was now or never. We developed a safety plan. We had people committed to that. We had daily temperature checks. We had PPE for our cast and crew, COVID checks, 2 or 3 during the course of the production. So we went in knowing that it would be a challenge. We could do it safely, but our collective thought was that we are just important for the caregivers on the front line to have something that they can escape from when they go home, to have something that takes them away from the reality of what it is. And so we serve an important part as storytellers there to keep things going as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Shane, this is Eric. Good marketing is all about good storytelling. So, in your eyes, what is the secret to telling a really great story? Or in other words, what is the key to pulling an audience in and getting them lost in your narrative?
Art is subjective. It is. So, you're going to have a range of answers for that. My take on it is just, I have my own viewpoint, my own sensibilities, and hopefully when you partnered with people who are extremely talented in their disciplines, and you get together with a story that seems, entertaining, palatable, exciting, all these things. And like you said, if you find enough people that want to contribute to that vision, to that story, because it is subjective, it might be genre, a faith film, it might be an action film, it might be a Western, which we make all those.
Yeah, you do.
And just making something for the moment. Hey, I've got this thing. We've got these resources. Let's pull them together. And it's really just embarking on a journey and seeing people who have weathered the storm with you before, willing to go again because of that leadership, and bringing new people on, hopefully giving them an experience that will bring them back, and just climbing the mountain. I don't think we'll ever arrive. It's one journey after another, and hopefully you've made it to the point where at least that journey was successful because you've achieved your goal. You had fun doing it with the people that you love doing it with, and that's success.
I love it. How do you apply some of that to, you've written a few screenplays. When you're writing, how do you apply those concepts to your own private work?
I just, I think, like you said, about storytelling, I think everybody has a story to tell. I think, if we didn't have the medium that we do, such as films or streaming, we'd all be sitting around a campfire trying to get each other to laugh, trying to get each other to feel something other than, just a normal route day of just going about business. I like telling stories that interest me, to have, you could go back in my work, that have strong female characters. Growing up being, with a single mom, so that you could see that in my work. There's always a strong female character, somebody that is taking the hits and keep coming,
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I know I have a few left in me before I leave this world, but I like just putting it down and just, I don't know. That's a tough question.
It's the war
really
of it's the war of art, right?
Yeah.
It's never linear.
I'll tell you, a movie will get made several times over. First, in your screenplay, when you write it, and then you change and rewrite. It gets constantly rewritten. Then the director comes. He'll give it a rewrite to fit his vision. And then it gets shot. And that shot maybe changes because of circumstances, weather, all these different things. And then when it finally gets edited again, that new artist puts a fresh take on it. And when it's finally edited, and the new music. So one story that you had in your head, finally to completion, has evolved. And it's got its own life. You've just set the course for it. You gave it a direction north. And now it was up to the rest of the people that would take it from there and customize it to what finally is.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I was just talking about this with a friend of mine about how, it's so common for people to say, oh, the book was better when a book is, turned into a film. And it's because we create these own pictures in our mind of what these look like. Mm-hmm. But the actual people working on it have a different vision or a different perspective because of their own story or their own life. And I prefer film over book just because of that, because it allows me to see things that I probably wouldn't otherwise see from the exact same story.
I could see it cause, kind of as a screenwriter, would it affect you in a way when you see the final results of that change and the evolution of it?
I think if you're strong enough self-worth and knowing who you are, that's fine, because that's the nature of the business. Or else you would be the writer, director, producer, actor, editor, and you'd see it all the way through exactly how you saw it.
Okay.
Which just doesn't happen, right? That's not a thing.
Yeah. You would be the one-man team.
So what's
the film?
Let's talk about Lost Heart and the release of that. How are people going to be able to get this in front of their eyes?
Thank you for asking that. We just came off of a one-night premiere on Encourage TV for Lost Heart, and that went worldwide, free for one night.
Wow.
Just to get people interested, and word of mouth is our biggest, the grassroots word of mouth on all these films is so important because of, most films have a marketing budget at or almost more than actually what the film costs.
Right.
And so having a platform right up, I think, right close to this week, up to releasing on Thanksgiving. So you can start to now look at Best Buy, Amazon, Tubi TV, Pluto TV, all these streaming outlets. And you could go to cdiproductions.com, look at some of our other titles, like those Westerns and faith-based film, like I talked about earlier. We are painting. Each movie is a painting in itself, but you take a step back and you look at the collective work, and it's all one, and they're all tied in, all, artists and different actors working in different roles. And it's really exciting to look at everything as a collective, because you'd like the Western, but now it pointed you to Lost Heart, and Lost Heart now will point you to Best Years Gone when that comes out. So we just have a quiver of arrows ready to be fired.
It's an arsenal.
Well, what I find is that you watch one film, you fall in love with the characters, and then you see another film with those same actors, and it's just that much easier to fall in love with them. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Shane. And to all our listeners, check out Lost Heart on all those popular streaming outlets. And thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. And we'll see you next time on Be Insured.